be here. So my name is Gabriel Nyamu, and I am a purpose coach. And I'm always delighted to have a moment to discuss this conversation that is so dear to my heart. And one thing is, of course, that we have a responsibility as leaders and as individuals, and every one of us here has something that you owe this generation. And I know last time we had a very interesting conversation where we asking ourselves questions that what is it that really that the universe will miss if you're never born? And I think that's a very deep conversation that we need to keep asking ourselves. Why are we here on earth for? And what is that which that it's our mission or critical, that we call mission critical, that if we don't fulfill, humanity, creation will suffer. So what is that really? And I think that's the conversation that we've been having. So this is just a progression of that. And we hope at least today we can deal with some bit of vulnerability of a purpose-led leader. And I always love, especially for those who attended previous session, it's always good to learn from maybe the previous session and just share maybe whether there's one thing that was striking. I know towards the end we had shared some of our take-homes. It's always good to hold you accountable in terms of the things that we covered last time, where we covered the topic around legacy, and we saw different ways that you can build your legacy. We had seen quite a number of different powers, what you call power dimensions, and I know we looked at that deeply, and even for those who have watched the video. I want just to pause and hear whether there's anybody who has gained something practical from previous sessions, so that even as much as we do this today's session, we know what we are doing here has a direct impact on our lives, either on decisions we make, transformation of our mind and our thinking, and how we are living better lives, and much more, how we are raising our consciousness to the reason why we exist. I want to pause maybe just to ask if there could be anybody who will share one of the takeaway from last session about legacy and what exactly maybe could be applicable in your life. And probably within the last 1 week, there's something that maybe you have already started or commenced applying from last session. It will also be very important, so that during this session also, we encourage each other to apply. Remember, we say it's not about knowledge, it's about convictions. You can have too much knowledge, and I think you can access a lot of knowledge nowadays in this knowledge economy. Question is, how much are we applying, and how much is that knowledge is building convictions within yourself? So anybody? Anybody? Anybody who was in the previous session? Or we are still staying away from sharing our experience? I will encourage so that we make sure this is a community. We are building a community. It's a community that is vulnerable. And that's why the topic today is about vulnerability. We are vulnerable. We are able to confront our right realities. When life is not like the way we mean it, we appreciate as it is, but we commit ourselves, of course, to be better and to challenge ourselves. I think that's very, very important. Our encouragers, why I was posing that is very intentional, because it's always good at least to have an accountability of what are we gaining out of this? Is it just good knowledge, nice stuff, things that are thought-provoking, but how are they also applying it to individual life? I think that for me is very, very important. Even if it's just one thing that is applicable to your life that you are learning from this session, that also you can be able to encourage others. If it doesn't transform you, then it's very less likely that it will not transform others. It has to start with you. You first in terms of transformation, and then to others, they enjoy the modeling that, of course, you establish for them. So because this session is also very short, we are here for less than maybe 30 minutes, so I will not indulge you so much. I'll go into this conversation about vulnerabilities, and I'm going to approach it from point of, first of all, defining a purpose-led leader, because again, who is this person you're calling a purpose-led leader? And I have so many attributes about purpose-led leaders, so I'm going to try to jump very fast. Then what are some of the vulnerabilities I would build a case maybe for around 7 of them, and then that can form our basis for tonight's conversation. So we all know that, of course, without vulnerability, we can never change. And even in psychology, it's what we may call self-awareness. Without that level of appreciation of who we are, how we are, the reality of the situation around us, if you're not vulnerable to the reality, definitely most of the times is that we deny ourselves from transformation. Thank you, Sharon, for saying that you are going to watch the last episode. So I like talking about vulnerabilities of a purpose-led leader, but it's because and over many years of research, which is spanning more than 10 years, when I started doing this purpose coaching, we've seen actually that leadership will always begin from vulnerability. I had a session with some leaders that we were graduating on a program, actually called Purpose-Led Leadership, which is a 3 months to 4 months program. I remember in the beginning, we started the conversation by asking very hard question. Why must you lead? Why do people need leaders? If people know what they're supposed to do, we know that, of course, people can connect directly to God, who is our creator. Why do they need leaders? That's the question. So it's a very serious conversation. So it's even more risky when you talk about management, because currently we keep saying now, actually, you don't need management completely. Why should you be called a manager? For what, literally? If people have a clarity of their JD, what they're supposed to do, they have clarity of the deliverables in terms of key performance indicators, OKRs, the results, outcomes that you measure. They have the tools, enabling tools to do what they're supposed to do. They have the capacity and training and competencies to do that which then they're supposed to do. What are you doing there as a leader? What are you doing there as a manager? And we had almost a whole day conversation about that. And this is very critical, because we need to appreciate the role of leadership in our life. And it's critical is because leadership is still relevant. Management is not relevant. And I'm not scaring anybody who is a manager here, but I dare say that management function, slowly it's been watered down, because literally, if you empower people, automatically then you don't necessarily even require to manage them. In fact, you don't manage people. You manage talent and resources, not people. What we can do for people is to inspire them, to influence them, to mentor them, to coach them. That's generally our focus. So let's talk about this. For those who are new into this, if you're the first time maybe to attend this, my name is Gabriel Nyamu, a purpose coach. And my mission critical, meaning what I live for and what I really endear to keep propagating in the universe today during my age, is to make people live fit living. Fit living is fulfilling, impactful, and transcending lives. If you notice well, those words are carefully crafted. Fulfilling means myself, fulfillment for that which I live for. Impactful, can you impact yourself? No. Impactful goes to others. That in my journey of life, people around me, and including the spaces, meaning creation. Nature around you, the river near you where you stay, if you have a river somewhere there, the animals around you, the trees, the grass, the environment around you need to enjoy some redemptive impact from you. That means by you being there, there should be intentional impact that the environment around you, whether it's people or the planet, are enjoying. And I hope you get that. So it's not for yourself. It's purely for others. Then transcending is where we bring a component of that. At the end of the day, this is have to be beyond my life. And that's why last time, and I will encourage all of us to watch that. Kindly watch last episode so that we flow in the same journey. We talked about legacy, and we had various aspects of legacy that we were able to deal with. So if that which you're doing is only ending with your life, I think there's something a bit not in order. If what you're doing is with you, there must be transcending nature of our impact that transcend beyond our individual life existence. Now, for all this to happen, then we have to be vulnerable to the reality, meaning you have to be able to melt down, to be able to appreciate, to be self-aware. One of the things I keep saying, especially in this journey of purpose, I can almost summarize it into just 2 key words: elevated consciousness and established convictions. I hope for those who like taking notes, you can pick those are keywords which I can expound for a whole 1 week seminar. Having an elevated consciousness and established convictions. For that to happen, you have to be vulnerable. Because tendency is that by the nature of where you are born, you tend to defend things from the worldview. And for those who have attended previous sessions, you have dealt with worldview. And I remember there was a time we dealt with 3 types of worldviews. Okay, there is a secular worldview, there is the theistic worldview, and there's something we call animist, like animal worldview. And we looked at those worldviews, and depending on the worldview that you interact with, you relate with nature, you relate with even yourself, other people, based on the worldview. We have talked about that, and I hope at least we can be able to refresh that. So it's still a build up on some of the things that you have covered when you were doing the previous Purpose Digest series. Let's get into this because the essence for this is just to have a tip. That's why it's a digest, it's not a deep dive. Otherwise, if it's a deep dive, then of course, you may have to get into the whole program that we learn. Let's talk about the purpose of the leader. But before then, can we define leadership itself? We know that mostly leadership, it's about influencing people. But you're influencing people towards which direction? Because you can influence people negatively and positively. I think that's a reality. So I can influence you negatively and I can influence you positively. So the only thing that gives leadership a direction or a pathway is actually purpose. Because, and that's the question I had with the leaders I was talking about, because I was asking them, okay, you are a CFO, Chief Finance Officer, you are a CEO, you are a Chief Operation Officer, you are a Chief Commercial Officer. All right, that's a title that has a JD and has an organizational structure where that role fits. Why do we really need it? Is it just for the operations you push there, really? That's leadership, that's not leadership, just purely management. So why do you need to be called a leader? Let's call you a glorified manager, that's okay. And that conversation was very, very heavy. And people came to discover, wait a minute, by the way, is my current position a pathway to fulfill a redemptive cause? And many, of course, started saying, now I have seen. I think I'm just here because I've worked for long, I have been promoted, I've worked for 20 years, I have been here for 25 years, and I'm the most experienced scientist here. That's how I have been promoted. It is very easy to get into that kind of a situation, where actually you don't necessarily get the essence of why must you be a leader. So we define in purpose, we define leadership from this context. And you can do all the other leadership programs, but if the component of purpose is missing in that leadership, it is just transactional leadership. It is just based on knowledge and transactions, not anything redemptive. The key word here is redemptive purpose, meaning something that lives or saves a situation or give a better well-being of people and a state, positive state within the environment that we operate at. I usually unpack this during our purpose-led leadership program, which it takes around 4 months, especially for corporates. It's a very deep stuff here. And when you start thinking this way, you actually discover you require vulnerability to be able even to appreciate that your leadership is not about the title. You can influence the whole organization without being called achieve something, a C-level. You don't have to be called a C-level. The organization should feel your experience, even if you have no managerial title. As whatever you are, you can influence the whole organizations. And I think for me, I've shared some of my experiences around the same when I was in the corporate space. There are some things I know I influenced when I was still just an officer level. But it's because I think I had discovered myself a bit way early that I was not even looking for one day. In fact, I remember telling my boss or my manager, I will never come to you for any promotion request. It will happen as it will happen. I don't need it. Because I'm not here because I want to be promoted so that I can increase my salary, but I'm on another higher pay or a great structure. That's not my motivation. I'm here to fulfill a mandate. And with that mandate, like Joseph in the Bible, even if I'm in the prison, look at Joseph. He didn't just start fulfilling the purpose when he was in the Paris. No, that actually came later. He started fulfilling it when he was still in the prison there. He could do his stuff, interpret dreams, and be able to push people to their destiny, still in prison. Just imagine a prison, somebody who is in prison. So there's no excuse in leadership that, oh, I'd have to be promoted, I have to be a manager, I have to be a senior person, I have to be a honorable member in our community, like for the politicians. Never. it's not an excuse, because it's something within you that you have to dispense to other people for a redemptive cause. I've tried to spend more time trying to demystify the aspect of leadership here so that at least we have the clarity of it. Leadership is nothing to do with people. When you call for leadership programs, they think you're calling for CEOs to come, directors to come, and therefore maybe that's the reason you and probably this session the people probably may not have come because they're thinking, I'm not yet a leader. As long as you can influence people towards a fulfilling redemptive purpose, not because of a title, you're a leader. And we can actually start almost modeling you to be a purpose-led leader. I hope that's clear, because that's really a good foundation for us. For those who had attended the previous session, these are repeats, which is important to build my case. We talked about that the component of leadership, especially for a purpose-led individual, whether you're a leader or not, has always to begin with an elevated consciousness. I already repeated that. Elevated consciousness, established conviction. Those two for me are the most important ones. Elevated consciousness and established convictions. Conscience help you become more self-aware. You don't just, I know when we talk about self-aware, we only think about ourselves. Know your emotions like emotional intelligence. I'm not talking about that, no. This is a higher dimension of consciousness that helps you to tap into the needs in other people, that actually you are the one to give the redemptive grace or impact. So of course, that has to also be coupled by what you call established convictions about those needs. Because if you have no consciousness and conviction about the need in people, why would you even start for them? If Nelson Mandela never had the elevated consciousness that there is freedom that can be attained, and I am the one, the conviction now comes to, I am the one. I am the sacrifice. My life is the redemptive grace for these people. I was born for that. If you don't have that, you'll never succeed in purpose-led leadership. You'll never. You have to believe you're the one. And if you notice carefully, even in the Bible, which we agreed, and I think you gave me consent, I'll keep referring to the Bible, not because I can not quote other books. I can quote other books, yes, but Bible, I think, for me, is a very critical thing to quote here. Most of the leaders that we find in the Bible, you find where they were even struggling with is the conviction aspect. God, am I the one? Look at Gideon. He's been found there in the direction for, and whatever he was doing there in the garden. And when he's being told he's the one, the first response is, me? In the minority of where I'm coming from and the situation of my background, me, really? And it took time really for him to establish the consciousness and the conviction. And that's why we struggle mostly, because we try to look at responsibility from whatever I studied in school. You'll discover those things are just man-made, and you can look at anything else. We don't get defined by what we study in campus, no. You can be having a PhD in accounting. That does not make you an accountant, not really. Until you establish the little deep conviction that the knowledge convicts you that, yes, this is my space and I am the one to provide this redemptive grace. The others, of course, we talked about, I don't want to spend that, but vulnerability actually will always be around this aspect. Demand for elevated consciousness and the demand for establishment of convictions. The others, of course, is to have a view of the concept of life. I think we tackled this last time. I won't focus on that. They are all C series. Having the courage to do two things, courage to be and to do. And that's a vulnerability issue also. If I'm to expound that, I can go very deep around it. The courage to become, that's B. The courage to become, that's a vulnerability issue. And the courage to do. Because again, you can become and then you refuse to do because of disobedience. Then competency, that's capability. And of course, community that you are called within. These are very critical, deep things. We mostly, when we are going through more deep, especially purpose leadership program, there's a way we decompose all these. Each of them actually can almost form a whole session, like for 2 hours, just to deal with each one of the components. But I want to begin there. Remember also, we asked ourselves some questions. What are we building in life? What are you building? What would creation mean if you're never born? Light your account in 300 years to come. How will your life purpose transcend into the future? What footprint and signature do you write in the future timeline like now? That's purely legacy issue. This is just a repetition. Those 2 slides are repeated from last previous session. So I'm just repeating myself so that at least I build that case. Now, we go now to the purpose-led leadership. There are attributes that define, and I'm going to run very fast here. Attributes of purpose-led leaders. There are things that really can tell you whether you're a purpose-led leader or not, okay? I can see, let me try to stop sharing. I can see a bit of sorry, I had not seen something that was blocking my screen, but I've seen what it was. That's okay. Good. So I want to share some of these attributes of a purpose-led leader. In fact, and I know we are going to make an outcall towards the end, we usually launch something we call Purpose Fest, which we celebrate every October. And one of the things we do is to celebrate purpose-led leaders. We usually use a criteria, and we have about 11 or so criteria of how we identify purpose-led leaders, and we give them awards. These Purpose for Impact awards. Personally, I don't love awards per se, if you ask me, because sometimes they're just not really fully very legit, because sometimes there's where people just do awards for the sake of just getting an accolade and feel nice that you've been awarded. I'm very ish about it. However, we've come up over a period of time, and this is our third year where we are celebrating purpose-led leaders, just as a way of tapping your back and telling you, right on, keep doing what you're doing. It is very important. Some of the attributes I'm going to run very fast because there are many, there are over 10, and then I'm going to climax with the vulnerabilities. So one way that determines that your purpose-led leader is that, of course, that first of all, you must have discovered your purpose, your individualized purpose, and you're fulfilling it full-time. Now, that last statement is very key. Meaning, you are not doing your purpose as a part-time thing. Now, many people will tell you, Gabriel, I know my purpose. Actually, God has given me revelation of my purpose. But I'm not yet ready. Let me hustle fast to earn a living. I make sure my children are educated. But 10 years to come, I want actually to go and now do my purpose. We don't call your purpose leader yet. Until you have obeyed and made that decision that this is actually my full time, it's not a side hustle, you're still not a purpose leader. Chances are you're still side hustling, and therefore you're still not fully immersed. And chances are you've not yet established convictions about who you are. Because when the moment you establish convictions, it eats you. I remember at the time I had conversations aloud. I want to get into full-time coaching and leadership development and doing what you call organization transformation, because I do a lot of strategy work, especially to challenge the board members, CEOs, executives on how to lead purpose-led organizations. Let me tell you, that thing is like the way you have body pain for ladies when you're getting birth. There's a place where it's no retreat or no return. You know, the labor is too much actually. You say, now done is done. I have to push this. I have to get this to alive. And remember that has messed with me over 10 years ago. It had to reach a place where I remember I was in Mozambique. I traveled in Mozambique to do some work I was doing for my employer at that time. And I was in Mozambique, in Maputo, let me tell you, that thing was so heavy that I felt like I came to waste time there. And I was doing well in corporate, in management, traveling all over Africa, doing a lot of amazing stuff. And increasingly actually feeling like I'm on the top of my career. That was over 10 years ago. So I felt like, I think this is the climax of my career. You can travel where you want, you can do stuff, and you're meeting people in different cultures. Quite amazing. But I remember when this build-up came to a point of conviction, I could not help it. And I remember chatting my wife even when I was away and saying, the over is over. Really, this thing, I have to cross over. And I have actually almost to transition without almost preparation. I'm usually very hesitant about that, because when the conviction comes, let me tell you, it is like labor pain. You have to push it. So one way is that your life is purely living your purpose. That's the first thing, meaning you know your individual purpose and you're living it. Number two, of course, is that you prioritize that purpose and you're consistent in that before anything else when making decisions. Meaning, if I have a conflict of two things, I have a conflict of, do I do this project or this project? The project that is more related to the purpose that I fulfill will be my priority, even if maybe it's free. And I've done it. Let me tell you, this thing can be and that's what we're talking about, vulnerability. There are times where you are called for an assignment when you know this actually is my niche. I'm going to have a high impact here. But you know, these people are only paying me $100, for example, for that session. Then there's another one where you receive a call from Shamim who tell you, Gabriel, we also need you the same day, same time. And here we are in to pay you 10 times. But when you look at it, you're like, this is just for payment, not for purpose. And sometimes you say, no, I want to pursue that which. Let me tell you, this is where the rubber meets the road. You'll be tested. where are you purpose first or are you profit first? Okay, it's a very tempting thing. One thing I have discovered in life is when you prioritize purpose, let me tell you, it also prioritizes you. Later, it may not have interim or immediate gains, but the future is always very promising. Okay, so hope you follow that concept there. So following a purpose first, priority. How you make your decision. If I come and check the decisions that you're making on a daily basis, are they driven really by a conviction of purpose, or they are more towards, let me get this for me, it's just for you then, and you prioritize profit. This is one of the things that I always have a fight. I will call it a fight because I think I spend every day in boardrooms, almost every day, in different organizations. And we always have a fight with the CEOs, with the directors. I was recently in Kegari, and I remember I was talking about this concept about purpose first experiences. And I mean, the CEO asked me, Gabriel, you telling us we don't pursue profit and we are a bank. How can we as a bank not pursue profit and you're telling us to be purpose first? It took us another 30 minutes to demystify that conversion. And later, actually, we agreed. Indeed, we need to be purpose first. It's a very hard conversation. They also have clear and strong life convictions towards impacting others. It is not a generalized conviction. Everybody has, as long as you're called a human being, you have a generalized conviction about life and about needs and others. Today, I think I did a TikTok video, which you can go and watch. I was talking about humanity gravitate on each other on two grounds. One is needs and love. The reason why you connect with people is because first, either you love them or you need them in your life. So there's something you need to have from them. So you need them. The people where you kind of have to hang on with because you need them. Maybe even because, not because you love them sometimes, okay? Because need validates our connections. And if you remove needs in the equation, do you know what? There's voidness even in our interactions. Even the people you call friends and buddies, and for the Gen Z, they call them bogey, the bogies, the Gen Zs, those people you hang around with, chances are there's need that they fulfill in your life. Need for companionship, need just for vulnerability, where I can talk to people and be myself. That's a need. It may not be spelled out, but actually, you hang out with those people. If you remove that need and you become self-dependent, why do you need people? So it's either you love them or there's a need. So these people who are purpose-led leaders, they have strong convictions towards impacting specific, and this now needs must be specific. When I ask people, what is your purpose, they'll tell me to encourage people. Then I tell them, everybody should encourage everybody else. My purpose is to serve God. Who should not serve God, including creation, stones, trees, vegetation, rivers, mountains? All of them serve God. In fact, they are a testament of his beauty. So we call those generalized convictions. In this, you have to tap into more intrinsic convictions or consciousness for specific needs in a target group. You're not called for everybody. You're called for a niche. The moment you stop doing things for everybody is when actually you realize your conviction is not for everybody. It is for a specific people with the needs that you redeem. This is one of the toughest things that you do when you're doing purpose coaching, to help you get your clarity of the niche. Who are these people in the universe out of the 8 billion who you are called for? Because you're not called for the universe, including even Jesus himself. We usually say he was not called for everybody. He actually says, for whosoever believe. Meaning, for those who don't believe, they are not in that equation. They are disqualified. So there must be a niche who then benefits from your existence of life. The other one is they are committed to a life transforming and redemptive, saving and empowering cause on a full-time basis, not as a side hustle. There's no you can fulfill purpose as a side hustle. It will never happen. There's no way Nelson Mandela will fulfill his purpose to fight for apartheid when he was working 8 to 5 somewhere, and party time is organizing demonstrations. How? It can't happen. Including Professor Magari Madai, who we know from Kenya, Nobel Prize winner. If you look at some of these people who literally drove revolutionary change and transformational change, what they were advocating for must be full-time. It is not a side hustle, not really. These leaders are also conscious on their impact areas and collaborate with others to broaden impact surface. Now, this is what happens. When you have clarity of your purpose, what it does, it actually makes you be more conscious on how you need to partner with others to advance the impact. Because actually you discover you can't do it alone. You need some destiny helpers. You need people who can be able to reinforce and complement what you're pursuing and the impact that you're making. In fact, purpose make your relationships very intentional. I know the people I need to attract in my life because I know my purpose. I know the people who complement my purpose because I cannot do it all, everything. No, I need partners. I need people who can be able to help me in terms of the journey of fulfilling that purpose. So when you find people trying to be capitalistic where it's me and me, in fact, I keep telling people who are usually so much observant about competition, and I know these are conversations I do even in the boardroom again, where every conversation is about something. I know we love it. We call it competitive advantage. I know for those who are in corporates, you know that terminology. Where everything is about competitive advantage. We want to beat the competition and to be the leading. If you look at the vision statements about to be the leading, and when we start dissecting, we discover actually that thing is actually hot air. It's a purely hot air. If you know what you are called for, do you know you are not in competition with anybody? It's like telling me Moses was competing with Joseph. Daniel was competing with Paul in the Bible. Never. Esther was competing with Ezra. It can never happen. Everybody has their specific course that is actually non-compete. You can actually go and do purpose coaching like the way I do, but do you know what? You can never be myself. I can never be you. The reason why people have an issue of scarcity mindset because they don't know their purpose. When you don't know your purpose, you kind of get a threat to competition because you feel like somebody is stealing your idea. But when you discover your purpose, you'll notice actually they're so abundant that nobody can copy you. Even if you take what I do, there's no way you can exactly be a threat to what I do. That kind of a thing is kind of very evident in purpose-led leaders. They also reproduce themselves. From the time you have been in conscious world where you know about yourself, how many people have you reproduced that can do even better than you? A question. I know we talk about legacy, and one way I think, and I want you to go and revisit and replay the video for the other last day, but one, where you talked about legacy, and you saw like 6, 7 actually. There were 7 levels of how you can build your legacy, and we went through each one of them. How many people have you reproduced that probably even better than yourself through mentoring, coaching, and discipleship? People you can comfortably say, this one, I have been able to walk with them the journey. I have replayed myself in their life, and they can actually be able to reproduce even the knowledge or the convictions that I have, including the shared value system. How many of them? And your report, I talked to one of the executives who told me, Gabriel, I have worked in a company for more than 15 years. The only thing I'm proud of, as much as I'm a C-level, is that I have developed people who can do better than me. And she was a lady, and I was very impressed to hear that conversation. Can you be able to tell that? You have developed people who are better than you. That accounts to purpose. If you look at Jesus himself, when he was crucified and was just about to, what did he tell the disciples? Hey, guys, I have to leave. Because you actually, when I leave and I said you the helper, you're going to do greater things that I actually did. What is that saying? I have reproduced myself in you that you actually can be better than me. You know, that's actually, you are going to do things that are better and greater than actually what I did. That's a principle of purposeful leaders. They don't lean on power. It has only to be me. No, they are so adequately free that they can reproduce themselves in others because that's how they transcend their legacy. Another test here, they fully utilize all their gifts. These I know I can leave it to Jamim and Babla here who are attending our purpose coaching. I know we have talked about gifts and it's a very interesting conversation. If you discover your gifts and you are not utilizing all of them simultaneously, you're not a purpose leader. You'll discover the gifts that you have are God's fundraising upon his purpose through your life. They are actually a sponsor. God is the greatest sponsor for the Gen Z who love millennial. Actually, that's the one who used the word sponsor for millennial generation. God is the greatest sponsor. He has sponsored his assignment, not your assignment. His assignment through your life, and one of the deposits he has made is the gift. Now, you might find you have 3, 4, 5 gifts. If you're not utilizing all of them concurrently, this is an assessment you usually do when you're doing the purpose coaching. Chances are you're not living your purpose. You're not a purposeful leader. If you find that you're only using one gift and the other 3 are suppressed, there's somewhere, nachida pahali, there's something somewhere. There's no way God could have mobilized gift on you And then they are idle. It's become like the parable of the talents. Talents that are never multiplied. There's a problem there. They also are keen to leave a legacy. I think they future-proof themselves. We talked about that last time. I don't want to repeat that. They model, they prototype, they become the example of the truth. Now, notice here, they become the convictions they live for. Now, this one, I need a whole day. This one, I need a whole day. For those who have attended all our sessions, there's something we are very consistent, and we talk about the power of becoming. And we usually say, do you know what? If you're called to a certain purpose, there's very thin line between your life and that which you are called for. You almost become it. Why? Is because you are born to live in an age or generation to fulfill a certain need or to meet a need of a certain generation. Now, for you to meet that need, you have to become that. So if God wants you to become an encourager, do you know what he does? He will make you the encouragement. I know here you require mystery of kind of a divine revelation of what I'm trying to talk about here. If God calls you to give hope, you become the hope yourself. That's why you find when you show up somewhere, people tell you, when I saw you, I saw hope. They're not telling you I saw Shamim. I saw hope. Or they're telling you, when you showed up, I saw an encouragement. So they are calling you that which you are. That's why you usually say, purpose is not what you do, it's what you become actually. Nelson Mandela did not bring liberation, he became the liberation. So that when you see Nelson Mandela, you don't see somebody who brought liberation. That's a doing, that's transactional. He became. How do you become? By, of course, living the conviction you stand for. This is why we usually say this in purpose-led leadership. Leadership is not about doing. It's not, you don't do leadership. You become, then you do. You don't do, then you become. No. And I always quote the scripture in the book of Daniel that talks about, for them that know their God, I know you love that scripture, it says that they shall be is becoming, they shall become strong, and then the issue of doing exploits come later. You be first before you become. That's why we are told you are the light of the world, you are the salt. You become the salt. You don't do salt. By you being the salt, you are going to preserve. You are going to season the aroma, the taste, because you are the salt. So the question is, you have to become the salt. You have to become the light so that you shine the light. Yeah, I say this is one of the things I usually dwell in almost for a whole one day, talking about the power of becoming. So allow me just to jump. Those who attend our deep sessions, I know we do a lot of justice in exposition on that. How do you become? It's a very, very big conversation. Then they build and sustain long-term relationships, build coalitions that are able to help them then expand their value-based and impact-led impact. In fact, they build ecosystem. In short here, they actually build movements, call them movement or ecosystem. They are very keen to establish movements. They build like, like there you have even these movements. Some of them are even not good ones, like terrorist brotherhood movement. They actually, they are following a principle. It's a principle, but in the wrong direction. Because you can start a terrorism group anyway. But people who are purpose-led, they are so keen on building and sustaining strong relationships, because it is through relationships you propagate your legacy. It's not through balance sheets. It's not through title deeds. It is not through what you call logbooks. There's a statement I usually make when I talked about organizational transformation. And I remember one time I consulted for a company that's 300-year-old. I have not yet met that. I hear the oldest company in the world or enterprise in the world is 700 years old, meaning it has served for the last 700 years. You can actually already struggle with that conversion, because in Africa, and especially our region here, when the founder dies, everything dies. And I happened and have a privilege to do my consultancy for a company that was doing strategy, a company that has existed for 300 years. It is being managed by the 6th and the 7th generation of the children. And I remember I was asking them, how have you been able to propagate this thing from 300 years, 1700, I don't know what, and this business is still thriving? And they told me one thing. Do you know what? Our forefathers, there's one thing they left to us. They never handed over balance sheets. They don't hand over title deeds. They don't know. That's what we do as we light wheels. And the wheels is full of title deed, share capital, shareholding, and all those things. That's nonsense, let me tell you. That's why when you leave it, they are going to destroy within a year. They told me our forefathers only had over, and they have trained us, they had over convictions. The reason why the enterprise was founded. Now, look at that moment. Look at that statement very well. They only had over convictions. They don't have over balance sheets. Because if I give you a balance sheet and now you are my son or daughter, I have not told you why I started what I'm doing. So there's no legacy you can propagate. But if I leave you convictions, even if there is bankruptcy, do you know what? You're going to build resilience to continue in propagating that which I handed over. They're also growth-oriented. Growth is not optional in purpose-led leadership. In fact, I usually say growth galvanizes the future. Do you know why this is important? Let me explain in a brief way. Hope you get me here. These are very strong part of attributes. The reason why growth is not optional, and let me give you a background. Sometimes when people achieve everything for themselves, they stop growing. If at all their motivation was themselves. Because honestly speaking, how many plates can you eat every day? One or two, dinner and lunch. Very few. How many beds can you sleep concurrently? One bed, even if you have 10 machinists all over the world, you can only sleep in one bed at a time. You can't be omnipresent everywhere. So if you are living for yourself, you know what? It's reach a place where you can't grow anymore. Why? What for? I have everything I need. That is if all what you're doing was for self. Remember, you are not treated for yourself. The only time growth makes sense is to multiply impact. There's a statement I often make in our coaching itself, and I say, wealth, if you write the word wealth, W-E-A-L-T-H, I usually prefix it this way. Wealth means, and follow me carefully for those who are writing, wealth, the first two letters, we, maintain it as it is, we. The other two letters, A-L, that is all, we all. That is A-L-L. And then T-H is thrive. I hope you can get a revelation of the mystery I'm trying to pass there. We all thrive. The only time growth makes sense if it's attached to the redemption of other people, not you. Because you can only eat one plate. You can only sleep in one bed. You can only drive one car at one time. So why do you need to grow then if you have fulfilled all your Maslow hierarchy of needs, which is usually one of the limiting factors we demystify during our coaching? The only way growth makes sense if at all it's a platform to multiply the impact that you're making. That's why anybody who is purpose-led, you can never say you're not growing, because not growing, you're denying other people who you owe redemption, and they could be going to prison because of you. Imagine if I was to start something which is to rehabilitate drunkards. Meaning, if that is my space to rehabilitate drunkards, meaning I need to grow so that I can rehabilitate more of them. If I am only contented with the 10, it means there is an 11th one, a 12th one who is likely to die because of my mediocrity for not growing. Never be comfortable with mediocrity of that I have achieved it. Never. There has to be always a push telling you there's one extra soul I need to save. There's one more person I need to reach out. The reason I cannot stop doing purpose coaching is because I have somebody maybe in Mozambique who have not heard me, and by hearing me, they need to discover their right purpose and live fit living, fulfilling, impactful, and transcending living. I cannot stop without that being done. That's why I need to reproduce myself in you. That's why I'm excited. I have Shamim here, who is our chapter lead in Uganda, who is heading our purpose verse in Uganda here. Why? Because we need more. And I need some from, I know I have somebody from Guinea here. Jeremy, I'm sure you're still here. If you're still here, somebody from Guinea who is based in Rwanda, and you're looking for more other people. Why? I need to recreate myself and reproduce myself in other people. That growth helps save other people elsewhere, where myself I cannot reach. So if you are running in a business or you're in a career where it's about self-centeredness, my friend, that is not an attitude of a purpose-led leader. I want to pass there so that I can move now into the topic of the day, which is vulnerability. And this is why we are here. And I want to run very fast because the time is actually, imagine, gone. We are supposed to have already closed right now. Give me 5 minutes. I will just list them. I'm not going to go deep dive. You can actually be able to ponder them later when you listen to the recording. Number one of the vulnerability you have to accept, tough reality you have to accept is that my life is not just for life in. That word life in here is not living, it's life in. You know, they say I am enjoying life. Life is not just for life in. Attached to that life, there's redemption of humanity. So life is not for life in. Just to go through time space, no. Just to go through a corporate experience and become a CEO and a board member, no. If you can't account the redemption that you have brought by your existence, that is actually a life wasted. It doesn't matter how many billions that you have earned for yourself or how many materials you have acquired. The investment is me, and the life assignment is to whom I am meant for. That's a vulnerability question. The investment is me because I am the investment. If you remove me, humanity suffers. I hope you get the conviction there. That without Madeira, there are millions of people who are likely to suffer apartheid because of him. So the investment is him. It's you. That's why you have to take people seriously, because every human being, as much as some of us have already disobeyed our purpose, but everybody has a certain redemptive grace as opposed to improve humanity. Only that because of our disobedience, our comfort zone, our push for survival, we suppress that consciousness. That's why one of the things we need to do is raise our consciousness. So the investment is me, but the life assignment is to whom I am meant for. Very critical. My conviction that elevated consciousness matters more than knowledge. I think I've already done that justice. We have talked about it in the past. Two things you have to always remember: elevated consciousness and established convictions. They are the key fuel of any purpose-led leader. Actually, that's like the fuel. That's the fuel in which they develop their even courage, strength, confidence, all those things. They build from convictions and elevated consciousness in life. For those, again, who do our purpose coaching service, we usually get deeper into what convictions is. In fact, this Saturday, we are dealing with a topic of convictions, and we are going to do justice, where we're going to deep dive. What are convictions, how we establish convictions, and we are going to go through what is not a conviction and what it is. We're going to do that on Saturday through one of the cohorts we are learning currently. I do not have to like it. Now, this one, I'll do the next episode, maybe Patience or Shami, maybe we can handle about the difference between misconceptions of purpose. There are several misconceptions of purpose. One, people mistake purpose with the passion, which is terribly very wrong. Purpose is not passion. In fact, you don't have to like it. But by you obeying it and having a vision, you will gather what you call purpose-led passion. That's a whole topic I usually cover in almost a 1-hour session. Difference between passion and purpose. You don't have to like it. Because sometimes when you discover your purpose, you discover actually something that sometimes you are running away from. Most of the things that you run away from, chances are, in fact, they are actually your purpose. Chances are you are running away. I'm going to have another session for those who are doing purpose coaching. Jeremy, I know you're going to cover that somewhere. You're going to see that video. I have actually 9 differences between passion and purpose. I also demystify between purpose and ikigai. Ikigai, for those who don't know, is a Japanese terminology that almost is equated to purpose, but it's more to meaning than purpose. I also give a differentiation between purpose and meaning. In fact, for those who follow my videos in YouTube, I have done that series. In fact, I have done a video between purpose and meaning. There are people who say, I'm looking for meaning and I'm looking for purpose. Those are two different things. And you'll find that purpose is meaningful, but not every meaning is purposeful. If you want to understand that, go to my YouTube channel. You're going to find a video talking about that. Then, of course, differentiate between passion and purpose. These are some of the things we have listened to many motivational speakers. Oh, do what you love. Can I tell you, Tell me, show me anybody in the Bible who did what they love. Are we not saying that these people in the beginning actually they struggled with the convictions? Moses is saying, oh God, me, I go to Egypt, face Pharaoh. Me, I cannot even talk. That's Moses. He had to be, I mean, it's not about passion. Everybody struggled. But let me tell you what happens. That struggle is to help them transform. When they get transformed and obey, these guys, we see them so passionate. You need passion, yes, but the passion you require is what you call purpose-led passion, which comes through execution and visioning. Again, I do a lot of exposition on that in a deep series. Now, it is not my survival, but through obedience, my survival is hedged or guaranteed. Now, this is a mystery. Purpose is not necessary for you to survive. But by you executing your purpose, God makes sure your survival is guaranteed. This is when people are telling me, oh, I'm fearing to resign my employment because I don't know how will I sustain. I'm paying a mortgage, I'm paying my car loan, I have school fees to pay. They are worried about life. Then I remind them, remember the book of Matthew. Jesus himself telling the disciples, do not worry what to eat, what to drink, even what to clothe. He tells them, or even pagans, people who don't believe in me, they also worry about the same thing. So are you different? That's what he was trying to tell them. You're really different because they also worry about the same thing. Do you know what? The worry for survival is what hold many people. Because start calculating, how much do I require to repay the mortgage? How much do I require to pay my school for the children? The more you worry about those things, the more they'll keep you worried for the rest of your life. And when you reach 60 years, I don't want to be prophetic, by the time you hit 60 years, when you discover, wait a minute, was all life about living and just surviving? And you feel very empty, very empty. But the moment you obey, let me tell you what happens. God mobilizes everything else for you to be able to survive. You don't even know where that survival will be coming from. It is like a protection you go into. God makes sure that now you will survive by you obeying the purpose. But you always struggle, and this is where I know most of the people are, where some people even have a sense of their purpose, but they are not moving even 1 inch because of the fear of survival. What to eat, what to drink. I am not called for everybody. That's a vulnerability. You need to accept this. You are not called for everyone. It could even just be one. Hey, now this actually now makes sense. Do you know you could just be caught by just a few? That's why I'm never worried about having, because I don't do motivational speaking. If it's a motivational talk, I know I'll have like 200 people here because you're coming to listen to the things that you want to hear, like you're going to be blessed, you are going to tomorrow expect a miracle. I'll have a whole congregation. But let me tell you, purpose conversation is very tough because it's out of your comfort zone. So it's not popular. So you discover that actually you are not called for everybody. It could just be one person and you continue moving. For those who have listened to me, last year we had a purpose event towards the end of the year. We were almost calling it off because I think we had a speaker. Our speaker was Rabbi Daniel Lapin, who is a rabbi. And that time he was in Israel. Remember what happened in Israel? There was an attack and he happened to have been there. Yet he was actually supposed to come and be our keynote speaker for our event. He was to come all the way from Israel. Then he had to be rescued to go to US. And due to that, it became almost impossible to have him physically in Kenya. We still had him virtually. For those who can go and watch Papa's Digest channel, you'll find his video there. Do you know what? I was almost calling off that session because I felt like our keynote speaker is not coming. This was international guest speaker, a known author who people read their books, and then he's not coming. I was feeling like, no, let me call it off. But I remember one of the evenings, getting the conviction. Do you know what? Even if it's one person who is going to come for that purpose fest, which was the end of the year, I'm going to do the event. And immediately I got a conviction, and we had an event that was fully packed. Why? Is because we are not called for everybody. Even if it just could be one person who is going to benefit, go ahead and obey. I don't have to know it or to know how. Purpose is not about potential of, I don't know, I can do this. All the things you can do, but doesn't necessarily mean that you have to do them. Sometimes when you don't start from a point of knowing anything, but through obedience, God actually allows you to build capacity to execute it. Because it's about grace. Grace is not something that necessarily that you have to be a master first, but through obedience, and then, of course, later through competency, you can be able to be proficient. I am uncomfortable with this situation. Yes, that's a vulnerability. In fact, many times I find myself in that situation where I feel uncomfortable about the situation. But you know what? If it's aligned to my purpose, I still have to execute it. Then the last one, who I am becoming is better than what I do or achieve. You have to get that sense to seek into your consciousness that who you are becoming is more better than what you do and even what you achieve in life. You can account achievement. I have finished my degree, my PhD, I have a plot, I have a property, those are achievements. You know what? If the who you are becoming is not yet changed, all those things do not count in purpose-led leadership. Those are the core vulnerability of a purpose-led leader. Allow me to park there so that at least I can allow one or two questions because we are way beyond time. That's why we usually now in this redemptive purpose-led mindset, we usually have this statement. Instead of saying what is in it for me, for us, we usually say, what is in it by me, through me, from me. We don't wait for this to happen. You are not an effect. You are a cause. There are things that must happen because you live. That's a mindset issue. There are things must change because you, Jeremy, live. So you are a cause, not an effect. You're not a victim. You're in dominion. You should have dominion mindset. You're not in survival. You're in thriving mindset. You're not legit. You're open-minded. These are redemptive, purpose-led kind of mindset. Now, just to climax, we usually learn a purpose-led leadership program, which takes around 4 months. And I want to encourage you to sponsor your company if you have leaders, managers. It's usually a very, very revolutionary, mind transformational kind of a program. And we go through a lot of series. There are 5 series actually we go through. And we always start from purpose-led convictions, then we do vulnerability aspects, we get into personal transformation, how you impact, and then you know what, how it ends? With humility. We actually cover that topic of humility in that process. It has various components of conceiving, becoming, and of course, later what we call translation. Allow me to invite you to this October that is coming. We have something we call Purpose Fest. We have an event happening, which we usually do every year. It's a place where we do 2 things. We have Global Purpose-Led Leadership Summit. It is happening on 31st of October this year. And it is also coupled with something we call Annual Purpose for Impact Awards. So we usually appreciate people. And we want to invite all of you, wherever you're coming from, those who are from Uganda, Guinea, Rwanda, and other regions, kindly purpose the last week of October. You can be in Nairobi. We'll be glad to host you. There'll be an event we'll be hosting there. And because of that, from tomorrow, and I hope Patience maybe can put the link on the chat here. From tomorrow, we are opening up the Purpose for Impact Awards nomination. So there are nominations happening. We have Purpose for Impact Annual Awards. There's a link that will be posted on the chat, which you can participate. Nominate anybody you think or you consider is a purpose-led leader. We want to appreciate them. We have 2 categories, purpose-led leaders and something called purpose-first organization. We also appreciate organizations that you can consider. This organization, it nurtures purpose-led leadership and culture, where purpose is flourished and, nourished and all that and nurtured. We want to appreciate those organizations. So nominate them through the link provided there, and we are going to have an opportunity for them to be appreciated during the upcoming Purpose Fest event. I can see the link that has been pasted there. Kindly do the honor. If somebody you know who is purpose-led, kindly nominate them there. If it's an organization you believe that this organization is purpose-led, it's a model purpose-led culture. They are not necessarily for profit. They are actually purpose-led. They could be a bank, an insurance company, a manufacturing, a telecom. Doesn't matter, even for those who are in business. But you know that they start for a certain cause that is redemptive. Kindly nominate them to this Purpose for Impact Annual Awards. Our theme for 2024 is this: building for transgenerational impact. Last year, we were doing a theme for the last 2 years, which was modeling purpose-first experiences. Now our theme for this year is building for transgenerational impact. building to last beyond your existence of life. God bless you so much. I'll be glad to take any question, but let's park there. If you may want to reach out to us, our patient can also capture that on the chat. Feel free to do so after this. God bless you, and thank you so much for listening to me. If there may be one question or two, I'll be happy to interject.